Hi, we're going to quickly go through a design sketching exercise. This has been speeded up, so don't panic. Nobody draws quite as quick as that. And we're going to look at the early use of the fundamental sketching techniques. Here we see the use of the sketch grip, this light holding the pencil or pen halfway, constructing up, in this case, rectangular shapes. Normally we turn the page, but because the camera is mounted above, we have to turn around and work around the paper. So we can see a range of different rectangles forming fairly quickly in front of us. We've got to think now about building shapes. So lines create shapes. We're then going to look at how we can possibly take this fairly mundane rectangular shape and modify it, make it a little bit more interesting. Starting off with some cuts, some straight cuts, randomly across the object, keeping the larger of the two parts. Or we could go for some curved cuts. In this case, we might even go for a double combination, one straight and one curved cut. Again, these are fairly randomly positioned. Confirm in the outline here, we can see this unique shape being created from a straight and curved cut. External curves are easier to make in the workshop, therefore they tend to keep external cuts. Looking at holes, now holes at the moment are drawn as circles. These are created by some sort of drill, whether it's a hole saw, a Forstner drill, or a pillar drill, a twist drill. But these can also be arranged in lines or in patterns. So the size and the position of the hole is important. Too close to an edge might cause a fracture or break. And in this case, we're putting a pattern of holes along a line. In this case, a straight line, but just as earlier on we had straight cuts, we could go for some curved lines and put the lines in a pattern. So a curved line with a series of circles, not necessarily the same size. You can get bigger, smaller, although obviously we have to change the drill bit a bit more often. These are implying holes that may have a function. We'll talk about the function a little bit later on. Again, speed it up, but you can see that not all the holes necessarily go through the object. This one, for example, appears to go part way out. Again, it could be a visual feature. It could still have a functional benefit for a hole that sort of partially inside the material, so long as more than half the hole is still there. This one reminds slightly of a kite, and again we'll put some notes around outside of the sketch. Should be as it's happening, but we'll add these in a little bit later on. So we're cutting bits off the size, the position, the rows, the pattern of holes. We can put more than one line of holes. For example, a little bit of a pointy, the arrow direction type being implied by the series of holes that have just gone in. A bigger hole in the centre, possibly to hold maybe a Pritt stick, or the smaller holes to hold pencils or pens. We have one that's focusing towards the middle to this bigger hole in the centre of this unique shape. This has been done, as I said, slightly faster than the normal speed. And what we'll do is we'll stop fairly early on and then maybe show a hint as how far this could go in terms of design development through these early sketches. Going back to, we can add slots into holes for a little cut in onto the object, so the hole itself can make its way to the outside, whether it's through a parallel cut or a tapered or angled cut, or we could just keep for the continuous external shape to be unbroken. Here, a little cut coming at the bottom of that long, tall tower with holes coming down, eventually the last one ending up with a slot coming out to the edge. So each one of these unique, each one different, and no preconceived idea. Remember the shape, the cut, the position of the holes, the pattern of the holes. Functionally, we'd have to have a space between the holes that one could allow it to hold the function, whatever it's going to be. And at this stage, we're going to look at jumping forward, taking what we've got at the moment, which in itself could work as a simple pencil holder, for example, with a Pritt stick, possibly in the bigger hole. We can see just the third of the three grips. We've had the outline, the construction line, then the outline, and now this render grip to very quickly float some colour onto the object, trying to avoid the holes. And a little extra trick of once we have the colour, the side of the tip of the pencil filling that area, then just going around the inside edge of that same surface just to give it a little bit more impact with the same colour pencil, so blue on blue. That includes the edge of the holes, by the way, so the edge of the material also includes the edge of the holes on the surface itself. So building up tone, we can also imply possible profiles. If we put a longer graduated tone on one side, we could suggest the material radius or shouldered, rounded at that edge. We don't have a lot to show the thickness. You can maybe look at shadow a little bit later on this. Notes alongside, you can have a look at these towards the end. The notes just recording what's going on as it's happening, just as a sort of aid memoir, a reminder as we're going through. So getting towards the sort of last of these sketch ideas, we've got a bit of a smiley face going on here with the bigger hole in the centre, 3 smaller holes on either side, and again those sloping, in this case 2 sloping straight lines and 1 curved line. And 2 holes overlapping, it looks a little bit like a snowman, but 2 holes that actually overlap gives another possibility of a hole, not in a hole, but, well, joined onto a hole. So again, we've gone from sketch technique through to outline technique, and again, it's the sort of thing we could very easily put a little bit of colour or tone on using the rendering grip, the side of the tip of the pencil. So very quickly done. We're only about 5 or so minutes into this whole thing. It'd probably take the best part of an hour or 2 to get students up and running with this. And it's certainly a skill that's worth building. We don't suggest you get this done in the speed we're showing you this now. This slightly blurred sequence is showing you how an idea can be developed further. For example, that last one has been developed to 3 different possibilities, all by changing the proportion, the height and width, the ratio of the height and the width, and possible slots coming into. We've also got the idea of a foam material at the back as a base, as the holes going through. Let's just say the coloured material is MDF. So that you can drill through without the pencils falling through. We put a second material underneath. Here we see some colour and shadow being added to imply depth and profile, and then a look at the final hard copy. 7 minutes 15 seconds or so to go through the whole thing. Probably took the best part of an hour to create originally, but students will be looking to do this over an extended period, just using shape, built up of lines, circles, patterns of lines, and then a little touch of colour, whether it's going harmonising as in green and blue, or contrasting as in the iron brew, orange and blue at the bottom. Hope you see some more.